At Atlanta International Airport, Jack Foster, a former U.S. Army Ranger turned security officer, begins his routine patrol. Next to him is Max, his faithful K-9 partner, a German shepherd with a keen sense of smell and heightened hearing. They inspect the busy baggage claim area. Jack is accustomed to the monotony of airport security, crowds of people in motion, the sound of luggage wheels on tiled floors, announcements of arriving and departing flights. However, today, something is off. As they approach a secluded corner near an abandoned carousel, Max suddenly perks up his ears, becomes alert, and starts barking. Jack tries to lead him away from a lone, battered suitcase, but Max's barking only intensifies, echoing through the baggage claim hall and attracting a few curious glances. Jack's pulse quickens as he realizes this isn't a false alarm. He signals his colleague to call for backup. Backup arrives within minutes, and a group of police officers carefully surrounds the suitcase, trying to calm the agitated dog. Officer Thompson, Jack's superior, nods, and Jack steps back, keeping Max close to him. The team cautiously opens the suitcase, and as the zipper unfastens, silence falls. Inside, curled up, lies a little girl. Her dark curls are stuck to her forehead, her skin is pale, and her eyes are wide with fear. For a moment, no one moves, and Jack freezes in shock at the sight of the girl's fragile figure. Her small hands clutch a tattered teddy bear. Memories of his own daughter, whom he lost many years ago, flash through his mind, and he instinctively kneels down to be at her level. "Hello, little one," he whispers gently. The girl blinks, shifting her gaze from Jack to the other officers. She's too frightened to respond. A paramedic rushes over and begins to carefully assess her condition. She's alive, but it's clear she's been through something terrible. Jack watches as she's lifted out of the suitcase and wrapped in a warm blanket. Her small figure almost disappears in the folds as she's carried to the airport's medical facility. Jack looks at the empty suitcase and the stunned faces of his fellow officers. A silent understanding passes between them that this is no ordinary security incident. Thompson approaches him and waves reassuringly. "Foster, head to the medical unit. We need someone she can trust when she wakes up," she says. Jack nods, grateful for the opportunity to do more than just write a report. As he walks through the sterile corridors to the medical center, his thoughts race. How did she end up here? Who could have abandoned her? Why was a child in such a terrible situation? And why had he been away for so long? Jack feels a strange connection to this little girl, this stranger whose silent suffering has awakened in him a desire to protect her. When he arrives at the medical center, he finds her lying on a bed, still clutching her teddy bear. Against the stark white sheets, she looks so small and vulnerable. Jack stands quietly by the door, not wanting to disturb her, and watches over her. In the days following her discovery, a deeply rooted sense of purpose begins to awaken in him. News of the suitcase girl spreads worldwide, causing public concern. Law enforcement begins an investigation, but each time it reaches a dead end. None of the missing children reports match her description. No family comes forward. The mystery of her identity and how she ended up alone in a suitcase at the airport becomes increasingly puzzling. But for Jack, this isn't just a puzzle. It's a tragic story of a fragile child in need of protection. The police ask Jack to stay close to the girl, noting that she feels safe around him. It doesn't take long for Jack to agree to temporary custody, and he readily accepts this role, full of seriousness and hope. Jack tries not to pressure her, but wants her to feel comfortable. However, despite his efforts, the process of adjustment is slow. Emily, as they start calling her, speaks little, and her voice is barely audible. Her memories are vague, with brief mentions of a large, cold house and requests to be quiet. She hugs her teddy bear tightly, as if it's the only thing connecting her to her past. Jack doesn't interfere in her life, allowing their daily routine to establish itself naturally. This allows her to feel safe. Their days pass in a calm rhythm with small signs of progress. In the mornings, Emily shyly smiles when Jack prepares breakfast. They often eat a simple omelette and toast for breakfast. After eating, they sometimes walk in the park near Jack's house. Emily begins to notice cars or birds, and Jack is always ready to support her curiosity. At night, when she tries to sleep, Jack stays nearby to comfort her. One evening, as he was cleaning up, he heard a quiet voice behind him. Emily stood in the doorway, clutching her teddy bear, her eyes downcast. "I had a big house where there were many people," she said softly, her words tinged with fear and longing. Jack's heart ached. He wanted to ask her for details about the big house, but didn't push. Instead, he gently asked if she wanted to share anything else, and she nodded. Her gaze became distant as she continued. "There was a strict woman. She didn't like it when we made noise. We always had to be quiet and obedient." Although Jack was left with more questions than answers, he cherished this moment because it was a sign of progress. Emily was gradually opening up, and every word she spoke was a valuable clue to unraveling her past. Her words mentioned a strict woman who seemed to control everything in the big house. Emily spoke of a strict regimen, of children not being allowed to play or talk loudly. Jack listened attentively, memorizing every detail of her memories, understanding that every little thing could be a key to solving the puzzle. He shared his discoveries with the authorities, but without concrete leads, they hit a dead end. Despite this, Jack didn't give up. He felt that a special bond had formed between him and Emily, and he was determined to protect her and uncover the mystery of her past. Unexpectedly, Jack found that Emily had become an important part of his life. Each of her smiles, each small step forward, became his measure of success. He understood that their journey was far from over, but he felt they were moving in the right direction. Days turned into weeks, and Jack began to get used to Emily's quiet presence in his life. She gave him small signs of trust, a fleeting smile, a tiny hand squeezing his finger, her relaxed posture when he was around. Jack understood that they had little time. The investigation had stalled, and they needed to urgently uncover her past before it was too late. One rainy day, as they watched raindrops run down the window, Emily, as if whispering, said, "There was a lady, she—" Jack, listening to her, tried not to betray his curiosity or ask unnecessary questions. Over the next few days, she shared increasingly fragmented memories of a cold mansion, a strict daily routine, and an underlying sense of fear. Each of her memories was like a breadcrumb leading to the solution of the mystery. The trail from these memories haunted Jack. He took matters into his own hands and spent nights researching the Atlanta area for places that might match Emily's descriptions. It was exhausting work, and most of his leads led nowhere. But one day he made a breakthrough. A woman from a nearby shelter remembered hearing rumors about a secluded mansion on the outskirts of the city that was rumored to be a place of control and neglect of children. Inspired by this news, Jack set out one evening. Jack drives up to the house and parks some distance away. He can't shake the feeling that this place might be connected to Emily's past. He observes the house for a while, noting the surveillance cameras and high gates, and wonders if they're meant to keep people out or someone in. Jack carefully considers his next steps. He doesn't want to alarm Emily, but he has no other choice. He shares his suspicions with his detective friend, who promises to look into records and any complaints related to this property. Meanwhile, Jack focuses on ensuring Emily feels safe. He understands that every small gesture, every drop of trust she places in him, is immensely significant. Although her past still remains in the shadows, Jack realizes that their world could crumble at any moment. One evening, as he was tucking Emily into bed, she reached out and grasped his hand with unexpected strength. "Will you stay?" she whispered in her gentle voice. This question, asked with eyes full of hope and fear, caught Jack off guard. It seemed to break through his defenses, and at that moment, he realized how much she meant to him. "Yes, Emily, I'll stay." "I promise," he said quietly, speaking more to himself than to her. Watching her drift off to sleep, Jack understood that no matter how dark the night, full of lies in her past, he would face it. Because now it's not just about finding answers, but about protecting a family he never expected to find. The next day, Jack meets with his detective friend, Mike Harrison. Mike brings a thick folder of documents and looks concerned. "Jack, what we found isn't very pleasant," he says, opening the folder. "This house belongs to a Margaret Wilson. At first glance, everything looks legal. She runs a private children's home. But there are several disturbing complaints from former employees and neighbors." Jack listens intently as Mike describes the strict regime in the house. Children rarely seen playing outside, strange sounds at night. "But the most interesting thing," Mike continues, "is that over the past 5 years, several children have simply disappeared. Officially, they were adopted, but we couldn't find any adoption records." Jack feels a chill run down his spine. He remembers the fear in Emily's eyes, her words about the strict woman and the quiet house. "We have to do something, Mike," he says decisively. "There might be other children who need help." Mike nods. "I'm already working on getting a search warrant, but we need more evidence. Maybe Emily can tell us something else." Jack hesitates. He doesn't want to pressure Emily, but he understands that this might be their only chance to save other children. "I'll try to talk to her," he agrees. Returning home, Jack finds Emily drawing at the kitchen table. She looks up and gives him a faint smile. Jack sits next to her and silently watches her drawing for a while, a large grey house with a high fence. "Emily," he begins gently, "can you tell me anything else about the house where you lived before? About the people there?" Emily freezes, her pencil hovering over the paper. She doesn't look at Jack, but he sees her shoulders tense. "It was cold," she whispers, "and dark. Miss Margaret didn't like it when we turned on the lights." Jack feels his heart clench. "And the other children? Do you remember anyone?" Emily nods. "Sarah, she was my friend, but then she disappeared. Miss Margaret said she was adopted, but..." She trails off, and Jack sees tears in her eyes. "What, Emily?" he gently prompts. "I heard screams at night, and then Sarah was gone." Emily starts crying, and Jack hugs her, feeling her small body trembling. Jack realizes they've stumbled upon something much more serious than just child abuse. He calls Mike and tells him what he's learned. Mike promises to expedite getting the search warrant. The next few days pass in tense anticipation. Jack tries to act normal for Emily's sake, but his thoughts constantly return to what might be happening in Margaret Wilson's house. Finally, Mike calls with news. "We have the warrant, Jack. We're going in tonight. Are you with us?" Jack hesitates, looking at Emily peacefully sleeping on the couch. He doesn't want to leave her, but he knows he needs to be there to help the other children. "Yes," he answers, "I'll be there." He leaves Emily in the care of his neighbor and joins the police team. As they approach the house, Jack feels his heart pounding. They surround the house and burst inside. What they discover shocks even the seasoned police officers. In the basement, they find several children locked in small rooms. The children are frightened and malnourished. Margaret Wilson is arrested on the spot. While the police search the house and gather evidence, Jack helps calm the children. He sees in their eyes the same fear he saw in Emily's, and his heart breaks thinking about what they've been through. When it's all over, Jack returns home, emotionally drained but with a sense of duty fulfilled. Emily is waiting for him, and when he enters, she rushes into his arms. "You came back," she whispers. "Of course I came back," Jack replies, hugging her tightly. "I promised, didn't I?" In the following weeks, a long process of recovery begins for all the rescued children. Jack continues to care for Emily, helping her deal with the trauma and start a new life. He understands that the journey will be long and difficult, but he's ready to walk it with her. One day, as they sit in the park watching other children playing on the playground, Emily turns to Jack and asks, "Will you really stay with me forever?" Jack looks into her eyes, full of hope and fear, and feels his heart fill with love. "Yes, Emily," he answers, "I'll stay with you forever. We're family now." And when Emily smiles, a real bright smile that he sees for the first time, Jack knows that despite all the difficulties they still have to overcome, they'll manage together. Did you enjoy this story? Tell us your thoughts in the comments. Give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel to not miss new releases. See you soon.